What if the way you teach and care for young children could change the world? Welcome to Reimagine Childhood, brought to you by the Early Childhood Christian Network, helping you grow as an educator, leader, and follower of Jesus. Early childhood is a sacred season where hearts are shaped, faith begins to grow, and lifelong learning takes root. We believe teaching young children is more than a job, it's a calling. That's why each episode is filled with practical strategies, real stories, and faith-based encouragement to help you create joyful, meaningful learning experiences in your classroom and beyond. Let's reimagine what's possible in early childhood together. I'm your host, Monica Healer, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited to introduce you to my guest, Ann McKittrick. She is the founder of Nurtured Noggins, a comprehensive resource for parents, Momentum Success Coaching, and host of Parenting in the First 3 Years podcast. A frequent conference speaker, she's a certified success coach, an early childhood educator with 20 plus years in higher education, and also provides online professional development for thousands of childcare professionals each year through her online business, Texas Childcare Training. A former infant teacher, EC program director, children's ministry director, church curriculum creator, foster mom, and parent of 3, Ann brings a lifetime of experience to all she does. She is a wealth of resources and wisdom. So if you have a young child, if you work with parents who have young children, or if you are a classroom teacher of young children, Ann is your resource. You need to check out all her things. We're linking to all her websites in the show notes, so check that out. Today, Ann and I are talking about some of the challenges that young families are experiencing right now. And we get to some really practical ways that those of us who work in early education can help. Fair warning, we're starting out talking about COVID and all of the effects that COVID has left with us as a society, and especially with young parents and with their children. That's where a lot of these current struggles actually started. So that's where we start our conversation. Here we go. Welcome to the podcast today, Ann. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you. I love talking to you.
We get to talk about something that I know you are very passionate about, and that is really building relationships with young moms specifically. But we're going to start a couple years back. So I think most of us would like to look at 2020 as this thing that happened back then, COVID.
Yeah.
It's this season of all of our lives that I think we want to just put it in the past. And yet I think that season has profoundly impacted all of us in different ways. But specifically, I think there is a trend within young families and young parents that has stuck with us because of COVID. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. What are some of the lingering effects that you see in young moms specifically, but young parents in general, from COVID, from that period of our history?
We were all deeply affected by COVID. It's one of those things where oftentimes when I'm speaking, I'll ask people like, do you remember where you were when you realized the gravity of the situation?
Yes.
And I remember for me, I was driving home from Dallas. I had spoken at a conference there and I was driving back to Houston and I needed a break and I wanted to go to Chick-fil-A and get a Coke and go inside. And the doors were locked and you can only go through the drive-thru. And it was March 18th, 2020. And I thought, oh, all this stuff that has been rumbling, this was my first realization that this is going to affect me, all of us, in a really big way. And if you just think about the fact that if you look at young families, and when I say young families, I'm talking about families who have young children, and that might be older families as well. But during this time, there were several things that happened. One is that they were scared to death that their unborn child would be affected by the virus, or that their children would be affected by their virus, or they would, or people in their lives. And so there was this big, huge fear, right? We all felt it, but especially if you had young children. especially if you were pregnant. And so that was the big thing. And then there was all of the confusion and sort of chaos around, okay, so how are we going to handle this? A woman goes into labor, like, do we want her to come to the hospital? If we do, what are going to be the guidelines for that? How are we going to protect her and the child from exposure to all these sick people who are coming in droves? And that was hard because a lot of places you couldn't even have anybody go in with you. Or if you could, maybe you could have one person, but that person could not come in and leave and come back. Come in and stay for the full labor, the full delivery, and anytime they wanted to stay after. And so that was traumatic. And then when they went home, they have their newborn baby, just gave birth. They need to recover. And there's nobody at home to help them because you can't bring others in because of the fear of exposure and the isolation that was required. And so therefore, parents had to go through this alone. We couldn't even touch and feel the new babies. We couldn't even smell them, that newborn smell.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even experience the joy of holding the baby or go and do the laundry or make a meal or hold the baby while you take a bath, all of those kinds of things that we do for brand new parents.
Yeah.
So they lost that, had to recover by themselves. And then the young children who were stuck at home, they were missing some very critical periods of social emotional development. And we all know of the kids who started kindergarten in 2020 just because they didn't get to go to school and start school normal. And that was the hard part of it. And then you add in trying to work from home, trying to school from home, trying to find somebody to come in if you were a crucial worker who had to go to work, like how did you manage that? All of that stuff. And on top of that, how are you going to get your groceries? How are you going to go to the doctor? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? All of those things, just really tough for young families.
Yeah.
Our saving grace were our screens, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The only way that we could see our family, see our friends. I sat in the front yard in a lawn chair with a phone and FaceTimed with my besties, right?
Yep.
And that's how we connected. And it just became a very easy way to connect. And it's really hard to put that down now.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
in touch with people in person.
I think as you're listing off all these things, I just am thinking, I think we all know it, but to hear you say it all back to back, I think we realize how much actually changed in our lives during that season that has just stuck around. And screens is just one thing, but
Right.
I feel the same as you. I had close friends that had a newborn baby, and the mama actually had COVID when she went into labor. And so no one was allowed to go with her. They weren't sure how it was going to affect her baby, like all those things. It was during the early days of May of 2020, so during the early days of COVID where we really didn't know anything. And she spent several days in the hospital by herself. No one was with her. And then to go home with a newborn where you still weren't really sure what was going on.
And you're still sick.
Yes. And then to have no help at home.
Yeah.
It was traumatic for her. And that sounds like a big word, trauma, but it really was to experience all those things that really were meant to experience in community. To then experience that alone in isolation was so hard.
Yeah.
And we can talk to each other on screens and all those things. I dropped off a meal on her doorstep. But again, you couldn't go in. You couldn't even see her face to face and say, I love you so much. Let me give you a hug, because we couldn't.
Right.
And so I do think there are some lingering effects there that have stuck around. And it's more than just screens. I think our relationships have shifted.
Yeah. And throw on top of all of that, we lost loved ones.
We did.
And on top of that, there wasn't anybody who was free, like in the whole wide world, the collective trauma. And so even that just in itself, usually like 9/11.
Yeah.
That was horrible and it affected many people. But in Houston, Texas, the only way it really affected me was the fact that it was this terrible thing that happened. It was there, right? here.
Yeah.
And like in Houston, when we had Harvey and the whole city literally was
Underwater?
underwater from the whole city, which
Yeah.
unheard of. Usually it's just one part of town.
Yeah.
That didn't affect you in Fort Worth?
Nope.
You were sorry. We were experiencing. You probably sent some stuff. You might have sent some people down to help us, but it was there, not here. For all of us, it was here.
Yeah. COVID was unique in that.
Yeah.
We all experienced it to varying degrees. To
Yeah.
varying degrees. Talk to me a little bit about how these trends have affected adult relationships.
Typically, when a woman has a baby, there's some sort of group of other moms that they know who are having a baby at the same time. And those kind of become your little community of mom friends. What's your baby doing? You keep tabs on each other. So we lost that because nobody went to prenatal classes or had the after classes or anything. We became so comfortable with our screens that I think it made us a little bit afraid to be together in person. And for the introverts in the world out there like me, it made us really not all that comfortable to be around people after being not around people for so long. And so I know that there are folks who still feel a little bit of angst in large crowds now. I do. If it's too many days in a row of people, I get peopled out a lot faster than I ever did before.
Yeah.
I think that when our relationships went online, everything went online, including how we learned, how we got information. More so, I think.
Exponentially, we went to online sources rather than real people.
And I think in a sense, when you have that kind of data in your hand, it makes you distrust the aunties and the grandmother. It feels discounted a bit. And so I think there's more reliance on experts. There's a lot less dropping by somebody's house. Therefore, there's a lot less children getting to play in my bedroom with my toys, and I'm going to learn how to navigate the conflict of you taking that toy and we're
Yeah.
sharing toys. All of those things that happen when we play together in a house in an unstructured setting. I think kids have really missed out on that, and we've become very structured in our social settings with children beyond the schools. But even in the fun and the recreation stuff, it's all pretty structured, and it's usually led by someone in charge, not the parents. And interestingly, just last year, August of 2024, the Surgeon General came out with a report saying we need to let everybody know that parents are stressed. They are overwhelmingly stressed. 48% say, I am overwhelmed with.
Wow.
73% say, I am so lonely and so isolated.
So again, several years post
Yeah.
COVID, but still, I do think the effects have been very long lasting. I don't want to say permanent because at the same time, like we are always changing and transforming, and praise God that his mercies are new and he guides us into some healing too.
Yeah.
But I think we can't just gloss over the fact that if this is where parents are, half of them, 48%, that's almost half of parents are overwhelmingly stressed. That impacts how their children are growing up.
Right.
70-something% are lonely. That impacts how their children are growing up. Like we can't discount that effect on children. So talk to me a little bit about that. How does that, lonely and overwhelmed parents, how does that impact children who are in those early stages of growth and development?
I think you think about what do lonely people do? They stay at home, they don't go anywhere. Maybe they veg out, watch TV.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to this event or that event. When you feel depressed and overwhelmed, your tendency is just to stay in and become more isolated. And
Yeah.
so I think for children, what that means is they just have less experience, less
Mm.
life experience. If there's an opportunity to go to some community event at the park, person who feels overwhelmed is just going to say, I just am not up to it.
Yeah.
Stay home. And so, of course, that's not necessarily bad for children, but I think it does lead to less going on for them. My granddaughter was born in May of 2020. She never got in a car for a year.
Wow.
So she was not happy with car seats.
Sure.
So she has never yet learned to fall asleep in the car. And that's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that we just automatically assume that any child, if you get in the car and take a 10-hour trip, they're going to sleep part of the time.
Yeah.
She can't. And so that's just interesting.
Yeah.
And that's just one little thing.
I feel like with just even saying children have fewer experiences, I think what we know from child development and brain development really is that the novelty of new experiences
Yeah.
is very healthy for
Right.
brain development, and where our kids are missing out on a lot of that. And you and I both are not necessarily proponents of go out and do everything that's available.
Right.
We are much more proponents of living a slower paced life and really digging deep into the relationships that are close by. But I do think there's something to be said for children only experiencing home and not really experiencing different cultures or different sensory things. I think we've shifted so much into you don't see children in the grocery store really, because let's really be honest, curbside is very convenient. Delivery is even more convenient. Why would you take your child into the grocery store? There's some sensory development that happens when you take your children to a place like the grocery store
Right.
that has just stopped happening. And so when they do get into a structured environment or in a classroom where now there are 10 other children who are speaking different dialects, to have different accents, sometimes different languages, they look different, sound different, smell different. It's a first exposure to kids that's happening later in their development than it would have happened. And so I think they're having to figure out that sensory processing at a later age than they did before, which then for our classroom teachers feels like, why is this so hard? Why do so many kids have sensory issues? And it really is just a later introduction to all those things that we might have had earlier in the past.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I think we're seeing them, but it's hard to articulate an actual cause for them because it's this mixture of all these things that we've talked about. And it's nobody's intentionally depriving children. I don't think that's what young parents are trying to do is to deprive their children of experiences. I think it's just happened in these ways.
And I don't want to paint the picture that everyone's just staying home.
Yeah.
I go to our park here in my town, and every time I go, every corner of the park has people playing. And
Great.
there's a lot going on out there in the world. I don't mean to paint this picture, everyone's somber and blah, blah, blah. But I think that what you say is right. They missed it in those years when they couldn't go and play in a water table with other children or do those kinds of things that they missed out on.
I'd be curious though, even now, like when you go to the park with young children, I know I walk by a park when I take my dog on a walk, and often I see parents and children at the park, but parents are not talking to each other. Parents are standing and scrolling on their phone. Their children play. The relationships that I think my kids are grown in their 20s. And so I just think when I used to go to the park, we talked to each other. But also that was, let's be honest, 25 years ago. We had cell phones, but they were not what they are now.
That's interesting.
But I think parents are less likely to just engage in conversation with people than we might have been 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's almost as if we have to be very intentional now. And sometimes when I'm standing in line, I'll tell myself, just put your phone in your pocket and look around. See if anyone wants to catch eye contact.
Yeah.
And most times people are more than willing to, if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And
I think we know that God has built us for community. God has never built us to be isolated. That's his plan from the beginning has been for us to live in community with people. And so I do think there's an internal longing within us.
yes,
We're not, even the simple thing of making eye contact with people matters. Like it changes the way that you go about your day when you actually make eye contact with other human beings.
yeah. And we all know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's number 3, this sense of belonging and be in community with other people. And friendship is part of that. Family relationships are part of that. Connections are part of that. And so it's number 3 out of 5. That's pretty low. Lower than
It's foundational.
very foundational, right?
Foundational to the rest.
Yes. There's
Yeah, we need safety in that, but it's foundational to the rest of our well-being.
It's foundational to being your best self. That's for sure.
Okay, quick story before we jump back into this episode. Picture this. It's summer in Texas. It's warm outside. The parking lot is filling up. The doors open. You've got your favorite iced coffee or water bottle in your hand. There's laughter in the hallways. Name tags are going on. There's a buzz of energy and excitement. A room full of early educators who love Jesus and love children, ready to embark on another journey of growth. That's what our annual 2-day conferences feel like. For 2 whole days, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Tuesday and Wednesday this year. July 14th and 15th in Georgetown, Texas, or August 4th and 5th in McKinney, Texas. We gather together to learn, to laugh, to worship, and refuel. You might walk into a breakout session led by a dynamic presenter equipping first-year teachers with classroom confidence. Down the hall, there's a seasoned director soaking up fresh leadership insight. Every age group, every role, birth through kindergarten, there's something here for you. And this year's keynotes, oh, I am so excited about them. We'll kick off Tuesday morning with Dr. Melissa Ewing, helping us understand how to truly set children up for success through the lens of brain research. Tuesday afternoon, Debbie Simmons, a true legacy architect, will challenge us to think long-term about the impact we're building every single day. Wednesday morning, Joy Wendling from Created to Play will remind us that play isn't just for children. We'll explore how God wired each one of us uniquely and how we connect with Him through our own play personalities. And we'll wrap up our time together with a hilarious sketch comedy duo, the Skitsy Chicks, who will have you laughing all the way to your car. Early childhood is eternally important, but we don't have to be so serious all the time. Registration opens April 1st and stays open until about a week before each event. So let me ask you, where will you join us this conference season? Head over to earlychildhoodchristiannetwork.com to see all the details and save your seat today. Okay, now let's jump back into this episode. So since we support a lot of early educators, I would love for you to give us some practical tips for how can we help the children in our care? And then second part of the question is how can we help families to build community again?
I think that with children, it's just basic what you already know stuff. We need for children to walk into the classroom and say, I belong here. We need them to walk in the classroom and say, oh, this is what we're doing today. I know what to do. I know to go to that table because there's something new out. Oh, look, over and pretend there's something interesting out that wasn't there yesterday. Just those kinds of connectors so that when you walk in, it's very clear to the 3-year-old, oh, this is what I do next. And talking about your class as a community and celebrating community victories. And so our class just did cleanup in 3 minutes. Do you know that's our best record ever? You know? And
Yeah,
so we together are a team and we have this belonging. We have a sense of belonging, which is that third need, right?
Yeah.
And when we have predictable schedules, when we nap at the right time each day, when we snack at the same time each day, and we know that snack is going to be something we like, all right, or if we don't like it, we have this option.
Yeah.
Just predictability of a day is part of the basic need, which is this physiological need for food and shelter and all of the things that we need, sleep, the safety needs of making sure that children understand all of the rules and all of that.
Sure.
And if both teachers happen to be out at the same time, not having 2 subs come in that the kids don't know them, just making sure that there's safety and security in their day and that they know that this is what happens, then that's what happens, and then mom or dad comes and picks me up.
Yeah.
That right there is the predictability that they need.
Yeah. I love the word predictability, is that predictability builds confidence in young children as they understand this is what's coming next. This is what's coming next. They feel comfortable in moving about the classroom, in trying new things, in discovering new things when those basic needs are met. And I love the idea of talking about your classroom as a team or as a family, as a community, and really building that family culture within your classroom. We do things together, that the way we take care of our things impacts all of us. The way that we communicate with each other impacts all of us. The way we resolve conflict matters to all of us. And that's whether you're in a 2-year-old room or in a 5-year-old room or dealing with staff.
Right.
Finding a place of belonging, it's foundational to the success of any program, I think, for sure. Definitely for young children, that sense of belonging. This is my place. I loved how you said that. Like, I was just imagining a child walking into a classroom and throwing their shoulders back and going, oh, yeah, this is my place with my things. And I know what to do here. I don't need to be a kid. Come here. Let me show you. I know what to do. And I can help my friends know what to do.
Yeah.
That's really what we want to build in them.
Right.
And I love that. Okay, so how do we support parents and families?
I think they need the same thing. They need to walk into your school and say, this is my place. I feel a part of this place because A, I buy into what you're doing here.
Yeah.
B, I know that you love my kid and that
Yeah.
you are going to be kind to my kid. C, I know that you're for me. You're going to support me. You're going to give me what I need. And so that safety, this feeling of I trust this place, and this sense of belonging and community. My daughter is in Tulsa and she's switched schools, and this new place she's going, I can't wait to go visit it one day. But they are doing the things that I am talking about. And one of them is that they are having just the toddler class parents are getting together and having a social event. It's not a school. It's just that one classroom of parents. So that those parents will know each other. They can become friends, and their children can do the play date thing. They will have they'll know. And then when you come home and your kid tells you that Braden bit me today, you won't get so indignant about it because Braden's mother and father or whomever there's caring for him, and you know that they are doing a great job. They would never be happier. They're just as incensed about it as you are. We have a relationship with them. And so, yeah, I think that supporting connections and supporting those kinds of things is good. I think one of the anecdotes to the whole screen thing that we were talking about earlier is something they call analog wellness, which just putting your phone down and unplugging and doing other things, going outside, doing all of this stuff. And it's a real trend internationally. This is where the medical community is heading toward to be talking to us. And so we, as early childhood professionals, we are on the cusp of it. We have the opportunity to put a sign on the door that says, here's your go home talk question, or here's
I love that
idea for tonight. It's going to be a beautiful evening. Take your dinner to the park. Just planting seeds and ideas that would be easy to do and give people just another idea to think about.
Yeah. I think so often as early childhood professionals, we have lots of ideas that we implement in our classrooms. And I think just sharing some of those with parents is all we really need to do. It's not like you're out looking for new ideas.
Yeah.
Parents.
Yeah. You all have the magic, right?
You know, not already doing the things.
Yeah.
You just need to articulate it to a parent who doesn't have as much experience with young children as you do. Their experience is their own child. And many of us have years of experience with young children. And so we know the things that are good for them. Where a lot of times it's not that parents are necessarily resistant to our ideas. They really don't know.
Yeah.
And so for us to just share, hey, it's a great evening to take a walk and look for something.
Yeah.
And pick something that you're talking about in the classroom. Look for a construction truck or walk the neighborhood and see if you see a bird, a grasshopper, whatever season it is. Pick your thing. I think that encouraging that analog wellness, actually, I love that term too, analog wellness. I think encouraging that in young families would maybe counteract some of these things, trends that we're seeing?
We just need a new habit. It's like picking up a new
Yeah.
exercise regime.
Sometimes we have to unlearn what's become our habit and do something different. I know I recently downloaded an app onto my phone that actually locks me out of specific apps for certain hours of the day because for my own self, like I realized I would just reach for my phone and then before you know it, I've now spent 30, 45 minutes, and let's be honest, sometimes 2 or 3 hours scrolling things that are not beneficial to my health, my body, or relationships. They're not. And so it seems silly, but it's helping me unlearn that habit that I was doing without even thinking about it. So now when I pick up my phone and try to tap on an app, it's literally locked out. I can't. And it's helped me not do it nearly as often. And so I feel like slowly but surely, I'm retraining my brain and my body to have different habits. And sometimes, listen, sometimes we need to make ourselves. It doesn't just come naturally. When
Yes.
we trained ourselves to stay home, not talk to people, scroll our phones with standing in line rather than making eye contact. We've trained ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
And so we have to untrain ourselves and then replace that with something positive and beneficial.
Yeah. And understand that we're not going to want to do it.
Okay, so tell me how we can overcome that, like the loneliness. I know you're working with young moms a lot on just inviting someone over. So how do we, in an early childhood program, is there a way that we could encourage parents to just get to know each other?
I think it's really interesting. This is something that Mel Robbins in her book, The Let Them Theory, she defines adult friendships or how you make a friend. And it's really interesting because there's 3 things that allow us to be friends with somebody. First of all is the fact that you are in proximity with each other, right? You have to be close together because we're talking life friends, not online friends. And so you have to be around each other. You need to be in the same life stage. That doesn't mean you have to be the same age. It might be that you're both business entrepreneurs or you're both graduating a senior or whatever, but in the same life stage. But then the third thing is you have to have a spark. And in order for a close friendship, you have to have 200 hours of time with somebody to be a best friend, according to the data. In order to be just casual friends, it's 74 hours. Yeah, so that explains why we are such great friends with the people that we work with. But not all of them, because we don't have the spark with all of them. We have the proximity and the life stage, but we don't have the spark.
Yeah.
So I think what early childhood educators have is they have a whole school full of people with the same 2, the first 2, right?
Yep.
And they know the parents of the kids in their class, and they know the parents from last year or 2 years ago, however many years ago. They know the parents.
Yeah.
The parents don't know each other. And I might say, Monica, I know that you love this, and I know that this kid's mom that I had 4 years ago, she loves that too. Can I introduce y'all?
Yeah.
You can help find that spark between people.
Yeah.
Just introduce them, tell them what the connection is, and then let them do the thing if they want to or not. But I do think that is an insight that we have that is unique to our work.
Yeah. I loved what you said about your daughter's school right now, where they are inviting just one classroom of parents to get to know each other, because I think sometimes that spark happens naturally as those parents are spending time together.
Yeah.
So as a classroom teacher or as a program director, if you think through what are the touch points for these families, are you providing ways for moms and dads to really get to know each other?
Yeah.
And then maybe that spark would happen. And I think it's one of the lingering effects of COVID is during that time, we shut everybody out of our programs too. And so parents didn't have that natural, I'm dropping off at the door and I'm looking to the right and, oh, here's another mom with a child that's in my child's class. And maybe we could smile at each other today. And a month from now, we'll say hello to each other. And maybe we notice, oh, we're both wearing workout gear. Maybe we could have a conversation about where we work out. That didn't happen anymore.
Yeah. And schools, a lot of schools are still using that way of doing it because it is simple.
It is. It's detrimental to our communities.
Absolutely.
And so I do think that we need to step back and think about that. it's detrimental to our communities. It's detrimental to us being able to build trust with each other and with the parents.
The only way that you will ever get to know the parents
Yeah.
is in the drop off and pick up. Otherwise, all you know is what the kids say.
I think there are lots of challenges in that many of us have experienced where the child will go home and say something, or they will come to school and tell you something that you're like, that cannot be the full story.
Yeah.
I think we could probably talk for a long time, Anne, about this, but I would love to hear from you. My last question for every guest is typically we call our podcasts Reimagine Childhood, and I would love to hear from you. If there was one thing you would reimagine about our current approach to early childhood, what would that be?
I would reimagine the way that our culture looks at us as early childhood educators. I think that, and I'm not a political person, I'm really not, but we need policies that support us as educators, that support parents as parents of young children. Early childhood programs in colleges, they're decreasing because nobody wants to, you have to really want to do it in order to go and pursue that as your education. And then it's really hard. You just hear from people over and over about how hard it is to keep staff, and people are quitting to go work at Costco or Buc-ee's that pay more per hour. And I don't know how cultural shifts happen, but that we need to equip educators to do their job well. 80% of the brain develops in the first 3 years, 90% by age 5. We are the ones that are shaping our country, and we are the ones who are getting paid the least. We are getting the least respect. I know people say, yeah, you're a great person because you teach young children. But in the hierarchy of dignity, we're not up there with the attorneys and the doctors and the physicians and all those people. So we need to be equipped. We need to be honored and treated with dignity. We need to be paid well. We need to have families that are supported with parental leave, with childcare on site at companies, or at least helping parents pay for childcare, having that as a benefit. And I just feel like my whole career, I've been in it for so long. It's just, I was talking with somebody this morning. It's just like we live just above the poverty level with what we pay people. And it's just incongruent. It's just so incongruent. And I love early childhood educators. I love early childhood people. They are the kindest and the best people out there in the world. They truly are. I went to TACE a couple weeks ago, the TACE conference, and I took my husband, and he got to meet a bunch of early childhood people, and he had never done that before. And in their corporate lingo, they have what they call givers and takers.
Yeah.
In a team, you have givers and you have takers. He said, everyone is a giver. There's no takers in that conference. They're all givers.
Yep.
And it's true. We are givers.
So true.
So we need to make more money. We need to be honored. We need to be treated with dignity. We need to be told our work is so important that we can't live without you. That's what we need.
I think that's so true. The reality is we are shaping our country. How we show up and who shows up for our youngest children does shape our society. How we show up makes a difference. Thank you for sharing your heart and sharing your passion. I appreciate you so much, Anne.
Thank you. I so enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for having me.
I hope that you can hear how much Anne really wants young families to thrive. COVID really did a number on a lot of us, but especially on young families. When you think back on all that we experienced during that time frame, all of a sudden, some of the current behaviors we're seeing in young children and in their parents, it makes a little more sense, doesn't it? What are you doing in your classroom to make children and families feel like they belong? How are you building in predictability and routine so that children and parents feel confident in what to expect? I hope you'll check out all of Anne's resources at annmckitrick.com. We've linked to her website in the show notes. She even has a special downloadable PDF that you can share with families to help them figure out fun and creative ways to play with their children. That ECCN specific link is also in the show notes as well. Anne has a whole website dedicated to parenting young children called Nurtured Noggins. That would be a great resource for you to share with parents if they're struggling. Or even if they're not struggling, she provides so much helpful child development information for young parents. And she's currently helping moms develop community and take real action steps toward their own big dreams as the best parent they can be and also the best woman they can be through her Momentum program. Everything, again, is linked in show notes today. Thanks for being a part of this episode, and thank you for all the work you do as an early educator. While our society may not give you all the accolades you deserve, the Lord is shining His delight over you and all that you're doing for young families and their children. He sees you. Keep going. You're making an eternal difference for these families and their children. Thanks for spending time with us today on Reimagine Childhood. We hope you walk away with a fresh idea, a little encouragement, and a big reminder that your work with young children truly changes lives. If this episode was helpful, would you take a moment to subscribe? Rate the show in whichever app you listen, and then share this episode with someone who might benefit. Your engagement helps us reach more teachers and caregivers who are shaping the next generation for Jesus. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and our website at earlychildhoodchristiannetwork.com. Until next time, keep nurturing wonder, faith, and joy in the children God has placed in your care.